have no choice, if you live in Washington and you're responsible for inflation, to pretend that you care about inflation and you think it's bad. It's been pretty easy for Joe Biden to say this because you can blame food inflation, just like he blamed Donald Trump's election, on Vladimir Putin. So that's what he's doing.
I'm doing everything within my power by executive orders to bring down the price and address the Putin price hike. Let me start with the Putin price hike. High gas prices and energy prices. 70% of the increase in inflation was a consequence of Putin's price hike because of the impact on gas and energy prices. And doing everything I can to bring down the price to address Putin's price hike.
So not only did Vladimir Putin single-handedly hack the DNC and embarrass the Democratic Party, which is the gravest felony one can commit, but he wrecked our economy. How did he do that from the other side of the world? When he runs an economy totally detached from ours? Good question, but that's really all they have at this point. And you can see, given that, why Democrats are encouraging war in Ukraine, why they want that war to last forever. If the war in Ukraine ever ended, who would they blame for the effects of their deranged policies? They'd have to pick a new person, probably you. But in point of fact, Vladimir Putin, for all of his faults, did not cause inflation in the United States. The people who run our economy in the U.S. government caused inflation in the United States. And they did it the old-fashioned way, by printing a ton of money very quickly, and that devalued our currency, as printing a ton of money very quickly always does. Now, the way this is measured is with something called M2. That's the data set that the Federal Reserve uses to measure money supply. Our M2 money supply is not just going up. Our money supply is going up faster than it ever has in American history. As of today, M2 stands at more than $22 trillion. For reference, on February 3rd, 2020, it was at $15.3 trillion. That is, if you don't have a handheld calculator handy, a 43% jump in our nation's money supply in just over 2 years. So what's the result? The result is predictable and obvious. Inflation is going up much faster in the United States than it is in, say, Europe, where they didn't spend as much on stimulus. Whatever Putin did or didn't do, none of this is his fault. This predates Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And you don't need to be a right-winger to acknowledge that. Even CNN is acknowledging that.
Biden called it the Putin price hike. I mean, is the pain at the pump all because of the war in Ukraine? Not really, right?
They like to talk about the Putin price hike, but of course, energy prices were soaring even before the war began. Inflation was an issue before we ever started talking about Ukraine.
So there we heard that White House line that is due to President Putin's price hike. One thing that is still out there is whether or not this is working, especially when it comes to a recent CNN poll that showed that less than a third of Americans really feel that this party's economic visions aligns with their own. So that is something, a crushing thing for this administration to deal with as it really prepares to take on the midterm elections.
So everyone understands what's going on here. Sorry, it's not Putin's fault. It's the fault of the people currently in charge. And that makes Joe Biden very much like the classic arsonist fireman. He created the disaster he now claims he will fix. Well, I just happen to be here. I'll put it out. Biden caused this. And not just Biden, Janet Yellen, his whole economic team. And by the way, the legacy economic team. This has been going on for a long time. It's not just Biden, but he has made it much worse, and he's done it on purpose. Biden is shutting down domestic energy production. The administration just canceled sales of federal oil leases. Why are they doing this? Why are they making it worse? Everything depends upon the price of energy. Everything you buy was trucked there or brought by ship or plane or rail. You need energy to bring you the products that you buy. And if the price of energy goes up, so does the price of those products. It's really simple. So when you hike the price of energy, which they've done on purpose, you're increasing inflation. Period. You don't need to be an economist to understand that, much less a Nobel Prize-winning economist. Why are they doing this? Well, there are three reasons. First, they have to do it. America's sovereign debt levels are way, way too high. We basically nationalized the debt, which is to say we transferred it to taxpayers from the 2008 meltdown. So we have way too much debt. And the only way out of that is to devalue the U.S. dollar. Otherwise, the U.S. government won't be able to afford the interest payments on the money that it owes. No one says it out loud, but it's absolutely true. We have to have inflation or else the U.S. government will default. You have to pay the price for their bad policies. Okay? So the morons who mismanage the American economy need inflation. Thank you, Janet Yellen. The rest of us could have seen this coming 10 years ago, but somehow you didn't. The second reason is that rising energy prices justify their transition to the Green New Deal. Nobody in America would ever choose to transition to green energy, which is to say, to put trillions of U.S. tax dollars into the pet investment projects of Democratic donors. No one would ever do that voluntarily. But they're hoping that the price of fossil fuels will go so high that you have no choice. Oh, you can't afford to fill your truck? Guess you're going to need a Prius now. And we're definitely going to need to control the thermostat in your home.